A student was once arrested for actually concealing his ties to the Chinese Communist Party. What's the concern today?
Leagues. More than 60 universities have been warned of an ongoing threat of Chinese nationals infiltrating the American university system.
The Trump administration wants to take away the visas of 277,000 Chinese students. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds insane. Why would the president want to do this? Well, there are many reasons, and we're going to get into it today. There are several times in the past where people from China were actually spies and came here and stole our information and took it back to China and got filthy rich. It's happened many of times. And they also have a new law that came out in 2017 where anyone that's a student that comes over here and comes back can be forced to report everything that they learned while they're in America, demanding information of what they learned on campus, essentially forcing them to be spies at any time they choose to call them in for that information. How crazy is that? I have some more crazy stuff for you. Now, this is not a new thing. We can go back to 2022 and 2023 when the Biden administration was in office, and the same issue came about because Chinese students were spying and the government was considering revoking Chinese visas. And this was under the Biden administration. Check it out.
A student was once arrested for actually concealing his ties to the Chinese Communist Party. What's the concern today?
Well, Adrian, let's look at the big picture first. In 2021, nearly 300,000 Chinese students came to the U.S. to work and to learn. Here at UCLA, in fact, it's home to more than 3,000 of those Chinese students. But the overall concern here is that these international scholars may not just be here to learn, but to actually share that intelligence with foreign superpowers.
From the Pac-12 through the Big 12 and on to the Ivy Leagues, more than 60 universities have been warned of an ongoing threat of Chinese nationals infiltrating the American university system, acting as agents of the People's Republic of China to share research and intelligence with the foreign superpower. Last October, the Department of Justice concluded a decade-long investigation, charging 4 Chinese nationals in a conspiracy, claiming they worked to recruit university professors, federal law enforcement officers, and state homeland security officials to become agents of the Chinese government. And in 2020, a UCLA student was arrested for attempting to conceal his ties to the Chinese government. The 29-year-old mathematics student was suspected of transferring sensitive software to the Chinese military. These are only 2 examples of undercover espionage, prompting the National Institute of Health to warn universities of the potential threat in 2018, writing, NIH is aware that some foreign entities have mounted systematic programs to influence NIH researchers and peer reviewers. This kind of inappropriate influence is not limited to biomedical research. It has been a significant issue for defense and energy research for some time.
Via Truth Social, so I suspect you know who has been posting on there, Donald Trump. And it's all to do with the China trade situation. If you thought the risk of a trade war had gone away, well, you might want to think again after this, because Donald Trump has taken to social media to post this. I'm going to draw your attention right to the end in those capital letters. China has totally violated its agreement with us. So much for being Mr. Nice Guy. If we go back to the start, he says 2 weeks ago, China was in grave economic danger, ! The very high tariffs I set made it virtually impossible for China to trade into the United States marketplace, which is by far #1 in the world. We went, in effect, cold turkey, he says, in capitals with China, and it was devastating for them. Many factories closed, and there was, to put it mildly, civil unrest. I saw what was happening and didn't like it. For them, not for us, says Donald Trump. I made a fast deal, capitals again, with China in order to save them from what I thought was going to be a very bad situation. And I didn't want to see that happen. He continues, because of this deal, everything quickly stabilized and China got back to business as usual. Everybody was happy, Donald Trump says. That is the good news, 3 exclamation marks there. The bad news, though, is that China, perhaps not surprisingly, he finishes, to some, has totally violated its agreement with us. So much for being Mr. Nice Guy. So I think we can surmise from that
in 2019, over 500,000 Chinese students went back to China after studying abroad in America, which is up more than 4 times the amount of the students that went back to China from studying abroad in America in 2010. There's a huge increase. And you just have to think how much intellectual property is easily being taken back to China and shown to all their students, or studying our curriculum just to see what we're teaching our people. I'm not going to lie. China does seem like they're doing a great job with the way that they teach their students. From what we can see over here, it looks like some of those schools are pretty great, but we don't know if that's how all of their schools are. Obviously, it's an entire country. What videos that we see could just be a few schools here and there, but I'm sure they have some good schools and education out there. Here is China's response to the United States wanting to revoke all of the Chinese student visas. The U.S. uses ideology, national security as a pretext to revoke Chinese student visas. It's fully unjustified and seriously hurts the lawful rights of international students from China and disrupts the people-to-people changes between the two countries. China firmly opposes it and has protested to the U.S. over the decision. This is politically motivated and a discriminatory move. It exposes the U.S. hypocrisy over freedom and openness. It will further damage the image and reputation of the U.S. itself. So as frustrating as it may seem that they need to send so many students back, I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but obviously that would take a heavy blow with the relationship the United States and China have, which does not seem to be doing good right now at all. Obviously, if you want to be the great peacemaker in chief of the world, then you need to go around and actually create peace. But at the same time, I understand there is the America First agenda that Trump is trying to carry out, which is great. You just have to wonder, how are things going to end? He called Putin crazy the other day. Now they're sending all the Chinese students back, allegedly. We don't know if they're going to go through with it, but we're going to go through some turmoil before we get to that golden age. I really hope that we can actually get there, but we've got a lot of things going on with relationships with Russia and relationships with China. But we have to do what we have to do. How many of these students from China are actually spying on us? Maybe Vladimir Putin is actually crazy, which I don't think anybody would be surprised if the guy's in that job. Hey, Trump is letting him swing. He's doing his thing. I'm going to see what happens out of all this. All we can do is trust that our president is making the right decisions and also throw some prayers up because we're going to need them. You guys drop a comment down below. You're watching the Unexplained Outlook. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.